Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar on the art of writing newsletter with ChatGPT. I invite you to ask questions in the little box at the bottom of the screen. At the end, we'll be able to read and answer all of your questions. This webinar will also be recorded. You can watch it later on our YouTube channel, and you will receive it in the early of next week by email. So my name is Chloe Michalski. I'm the marketing director at Cyber Impact. For those who don't know, Cyber Impact is a 100% bilingual Canadian emailing platform. You can create, segment, and personalize newsletter, perform automated marketing, create pop-up form, and much more. I have a guest with me today, Charles. Thank you for joining me and being there. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Charles de Montigny. I'm an AI developer and the founder of ChatGPT. We're a company that builds a chatbot for lead capture to help SMBs, Canadian SMBs, capture more lead by transforming their visitor from their website into leads. So I'm happy to be here.
For the agenda of the day, we will explain what is ChatGPT, how to structure a prompt. We will show you some use cases, how to personalize the tone of a message, how to adapt a specific format. Charles will also show you example live in the app of ChatGPT. We will explain the advantage and limitations of ChatGPT, and we will finish with a question and period answer.
So, what is ChatGPT? I'm sure you've tried it. If you haven't, basically it's a chat interface that is connected to an AI language model. An AI language model, it's basically an AI trained on a lot of text that you can chat, have a communication with, that very looks like having a discussion with a human. It's they have powerful dialogue capabilities that can fool a lot of human, even though you can use they can ask questions, answer questions actually, and also follow instructions. You can use it for a lot of applications like summaries, a translation. You can write, as we will show later, a newsletter or other stuff. You can use it for code generation, like programming, and a lot of more stuff like that. So we'll look at that today. There's right now 2 versions of ChatGPT. You can sign up for free using by going onto the website. With the free version, you will have the GPT 3.5, which is a less capable model, but still it's still really powerful. However, you won't have access all the time. During peak hour, you might don't have the access. And the latency will be a bit higher with the low response speed. On the other side, if you pay a $20 US per month, you will have access to the latest model, which is ChatGPT 4 Turbo. The model will have a lot of additional features, such as internal access within the chat. The model will be able also to be multimodal, not just text, but with the GPT Vision, you will be able to analyze images. With DALL-E, you can generate images. With the feature advanced data analytics, you can actually upload data such as a CSV or Excel file and ask the model to analyze the data. You will have actually your personal data scientist within ChatGPT. And finally, there's the GPTs and the plugins, which are personalized version of ChatGPT. The GPTs is for yourself. The plugins are created by companies such as Expedia. With this plugin, you can actually look for flights and hotels within the chat interface.
And I knew last September, there was a waiting list to buy the paid version, but now there is no more waiting list. So you can directly pay go for the paid version. And I think it's $20 US per month, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So before we deep dive into the chat GPT, I will show you other alternatives that exist that may be more suited for what you need. So first of all, there's ChatSonic. It's the text generator similar to ChatGPT. The main advantage, it can respond to queries about recent trend or event because it relies on data directly from Google search. It is also capable of generating image, abstract or realistic illustrations and respond orally if necessary. ChatSonic is paid, but also offer a free trial version. There is Google Gemini, formerly named Bard. There is also access to the web. It allows you to input your queries through voice and give access to features that ChatGPT does not offer without the plugin, so the paid version. There is Jasper. Jasper is specially designed for web copywriting. So you can choose the tone of the text, the writing style, and even add keywords so that your content adapts perfectly to the target audience. A little fact about Jasper, it was founded in 2015 by a Montrealer named Dave Virgin Moser. And the goal was to simplify the content creation process. And today, the company behind Jasper is Conversion AI, and the headquarters are now located in Austin, Texas. There's also Magic Write. It's the tool that is directly in Canva. So you can also it's similar to ChatGPT. You can write text up to 500 words. You can continue a writing paragraph that has been started. You can create a list of idea or even transform keyword into a complete text. There's also Microsoft Copilot, so Bing Chat. It have a constant access to the internet, and the Microsoft chatbot can also cite all the sources in the response. So that's really nice. For example, if you have to do school's work that require to put all the sources and also to validate the quality of the response. There's Copy AI. Like Jasper, it's a copywriting tool designed to assist user in generating various types of content. There's also Notion AI. It's a tool that is really used for work organization because the EA tool allow you to analyze meeting notes, for example, instantly generating what are the next steps depending of your meeting notes. It can create summaries and even assist in task management. There's a free trial, but after it became a paid version afterwards. And finally, there is Claude 3 that is quite new. It's a artificial intelligence trained by Anthropic and claimed to be safer, more precise, and more secure than ChatGPT. There is also a free plan like ChatGPT, and the paid version is $20 per month.
So now I'm going to talk about the prompting. The prompt, what is the prompt, is probably the most important part when you are using an AI generative tool. Basically, the prompt is the question or the instruction that you give to the AI model. It's really important because the quality of the prompt will be linked directly to the quality of the response. If you give a well-structured prompt to the AI with a lot of data, a lot of information, you will get a very good response. But if you don't, if you just give like a sentence, and this is probably the most the biggest mistake that newcomers to AI do, they just ask for like, oh, write me a newsletter without like giving it a lot of information. The response or the output of the model will not be that great. And it's not very different that if you ask like a new employee, just like, oh, write me a newsletter, it will come back with like some generic stuff. If you give them a lot of data about your company, your goal, the context, example of past newsletter, the employee will do great. And this is the same with the AI. So we'll dig into a structure, the structure of the prompt that I do use. So there's other school of thought, but I think this one is fairly straightforward, and it's a pretty good starting point, and you can go pretty far with that. So I do have this 6-step structure of the prompt. First, I always start with the role. It's a bit weird to give ChatGPT a role such as a senior coder or a copywriter. But the idea behind this is that if you tell ChatGPT that he is like a senior copywriter, it will look into his training data to stuff that was linked to senior copywriter, and probabilistically like it will be better stuff that it takes his intelligence from. So you can start with that. It's always a good start to give your prompt a proper role. After that, the next step is to add context. So in our cases today, we'll show you an example for writing a newsletter. So in that case, I will create a newsletter for my company, and in that case, I will put information regarding like what we do, and just like information regarding like what we are trying to do with that prompt, such as the newsletter. After that, I always like to add information, just really relevant information, documentation for more accurate response. In that case, I will add things like more information about my company, or links to our social media, contact information for the bot to be able to add those information into the newsletter as I like it. The fourth step is the example. So this is probably the most powerful step that you can use. Those AIs work very well when you give them example of what you're looking for. So if you are able to, in our case, for the newsletter, show him a newsletter in the prompt. Oh, this is the format and the style and the tone that I like. It's a very good way to get a similar answer in the prompt. Similar to the example you can give you can add to the prompt the format that you like. So instead of like showing it to the bot, you can actually tell him like, oh, I want an introduction, I want a conclusion with those information. I like a list, I like big paragraph, small paragraph. We'll play with that a bit further. So the format is a good way to get exactly like how you want it to be structured. And finally, you can add like instruction to the prompt. You can start with like basic instruction, and when you realize that the output that you get is not exactly how you want it, you can add instruction down the road to add specific guidelines.
All right, so I will show you some use cases that I like to use from day to day. So the first one is rephrasing. Why I use this one? It's because with it, you can use a different writing style to make a difference. You can simplify the text or make it clearer. You can adapt the text to the target audience or explore other ways of expressing your content. So in this example, I said you are a writing expert. Could you rephrase the following text using a more professional language? So most of the time when I write an email, for example, I write it in my own way. And after I ask GPT, for example, can you make it more friendly, or can you write it more professional? And you can see the answer is really nice. It doesn't change the context or the what you're trying to say. It just changed some word to make it more professional. Another use cases I like to use is translation. So why translate with ChatGPT versus other translator like Google Translate or Delp? Well, ChatGPT is able to understand the context of the text and generate a more coherent translation. It can take into account the overall meaning of the text rather than just simply translating word by word. And also, ChatGPT can adapt to different language, style, and tone, producing translation that better reflect your own writing styles. And also you can give an instruction to ChatGPT to write a translation that meets particular criteria. For example, ask ChatGPT to change the text speaking in I rather than you. So in this example, I said you are a specialized translator from English to French. Translate the following text into French. I could have asked a more defined and a question, but when I want to be fast, this is what I put, and you get a really good answer. Another use case is going to be the correction. So ChatGPT can review and correct text. It can also provide revision suggestion, grammatical correction, and improve the clarity of the text. However, it is always recommended to perform a human revision afterward because sometimes ChatGPT generates incorrect suggestion or overlooks certain grammatical error. So in this example, I said you are an expert at writing and proof reading. Edit this text to make sure it contains no punctuation or grammatical errors. Also remove any use of the passive voice. So I ask to do different things at the same times. In red, I make some mistake, and you can see in the example that everything is corrected and they change for the passive voice. Another use case is the summarizing of a long text. It can be really useful when you have a limited number of words or characters and don't know how to cut through the text. ChatGPT does it instantly and very quickly, and it also allow you to get straight to the point. So most of the time, I will use this, for example, when I'm trying to find the subject of my emailing. Sometimes it's too long, so I can ask ChatGPT to cut it to 50 character, which is the recommended way to do it. In this example, I said, you are a copywriting specialist. I'd like you to summarize the following text in no more than 3 sentences, grading the most essential information to understand what personalization means in email marketing. So you can see before I had 3 paragraphs and ChatGPT give me the answer with only 3 sentences. So it's really nice and it can be really helpful and save you a lot of time. Another use case is the generate content and ideas. So it can be really handy if you're short on inspiration to create content, for example, a blog post, a white paper. It can also be a post on social media, for example. ChatGPT is capable of generating a variety of ideas, allowing you to explore different approaches and perspectives for a given topic that you might not have necessarily thought of. So in this example, I said, you're a marketing and SEO specialist. I need to write a blog post about the benefits of email marketing automation to the tourism industry. Can you suggest a blog post title and 5 benefits I could explain on? So ChatGPT answer and propose unlock success, the top 5 benefits of email marketing automation for the tourist industry. And it also gave me 5 benefits, so streamless booking process, personalized customer journey, and so on. So when I like to write a blog post, I use this case a lot because it always gives me an idea of where to start to write my blog post. So if I continue in the generated content idea, there's some other idea that you can use. So the first one, I am writing an article about insert your subject, which I'm with the aim of insert your adjective. Could you give me X number of idea for the article content that will achieve these objectives? Write the script for a 30-second promotional video on their Facebook that promotes the benefits of our new natural ingredient-based and anti-aging cream. So it's gonna write down a script that's gonna be close to 30 seconds. You can also ask, can you find X number of connection between subject 1, so for example, pizza, and subject 2, hamburger? And it's gonna say like, what are the connection? It can say, well, they're both fast food, for example. And you can also ask, can you give me some decorating tips to make your living room warmer and more inviting, for example. And the last use case I like to use, it's about explaining a complex topic. So it's really nice because ChatGPT offers a really rapid response, and it's really useful to have immediate clarification. So here I ask, can you explain the concept of FOMO? So FOMO, it's fear of missing out, as if I was a 5 years old. And you can see that the answer that ChatGPT give is quite funny, but it's really nice because you can understand what is the concept. So normally I would use this for more technical topic. For example, mathematical concept that I'm not the best in mathematics. So I like to use ChatGPT for that.
Very nice, very nice. Another way to create generate content idea that I like to use is to ask ChatGPT to give me like the top 3 most direct idea about a subject, and then not use those idea and ask him to produce other ideas. So it's more it's different than what you can see online usually. Anyway, here's the example part right now. So I'm gonna show you my I'm gonna go to the prompt. So I've created a prompt to write a newsletter. So today we're gonna write a newsletter for my company. So I've created the same structure as I showed you earlier in the webinar. First of all, I've created the roles. So I said you're a copywriter with 20 years of experience in writing newsletter. You work for a SaaS company. I gave it more information. In this case, I told them to be to make the newsletter a bit more funny, as he was Ryan Reynolds, but with fact precision of a university professor. So it's a way to play with the tone. In the context, I give him information regarding my company, which is CapGPT, and about my product, which is Capture, a specialized chatbot for lead capture for Canadian B2B SMEs. I've added a call to action, so I want in that newsletter to offer a free prototype for clients. Also, next step in the information part, I given just a bit more information for about my company. You can add more if you need. Social media links, contact information that I want to put in the newsletter. Next step is the format. So as I said, I explain in plain English that I want like a catchy subject line because it's really important for the email to be open. The headline, a personal greeting, extra, the call to action, social media link, contact info. Fifth, I have the instructions. So in that case, I have like a few instructions about the length, not to mention Ryan Reynolds, because for some reason he would like put that in the newsletter. And this is what I've told you earlier, like sometimes you just need to add a bit more like instruction when you see that something is hard, is not working. So those are the instruction I've added while creating that prompt for this webinar. Finally, I've put like a real newsletter that I use. So this is a good way for an example for ChatGPT to be able to take those data into consideration. So if we start with that prompt, as you see, it's a very long prompt. So this might be different from what you've seen in the past, but give that to ChatGPT, all those data, and this is how you can create a very nice result from from the usage of ChatGPT. So as I said, it was more in a funny way. So since it's for Canadian SMBs, talks about maple syrup and the catchy subject line to with a sweet solution. I think it's nice. The headline, meat capture like more effective than your local barista, funny way. So that creates the whole newsletter as I ask him, with the links for my social media, with my email and my call to action, and everything is in there. So this is one way to create a newsletter. And what is good about ChatGPT is that it will be able to recreate every week something similar. But if you don't like it that way and you find it maybe too much funny or not like that professional for your company, you can modify the prompt. If you modify the prompt, it will be you can change the instruction, you can change the role, you can change the context. Or what is good with ChatGPT, you can just ask him directly to rewrite it in a more professional way. So I can just ask him to use a more professional tone, and this is one way to do it. And while he's at it, I can show you what we could do in the prompt. So you can change the role. What is in green is what is different from the first one I've showed you, and probably at the end we'll send you the whole prompt in the email to for you to read. I've changed that. I've changed the instruction, and I've changed the whole example for a more professional newsletter result. But if you look at the headline, it's no longer talking about maple syrup and funny stuff. It's a more like what you expect from a SaaS company in the subject line and the headline. So this is a way to change the tone of your communication, and you can also ask him to like replicate the tone of the example. So this is a good way to keep the language the same, even though you're using ChatGPT right now to write the first draft. This is also a good way to like write the first draft and then use human to look at it and modify it and do it the way you like. The same way you can change the format. I can say, instead of using section, write everything in a long paragraph. This is probably not optimal for reading, but just to show you the example. Same way I've created that new format prompt, which where I change like the role, and I tell him to use a single long paragraph with more words. If you like longer form, it's easy like that to create it. I've changed the format also. Instead of sections, I told him just to use one long paragraph. And finally, the same way in the instruction and in the example. So it's easy, and as you see here, you just create like one big block of text, which, as I said, is not optimal, but just to show you the example of how it's easy to create. We just created like in the last 5 minutes 3 newsletter, one very like funny and bubbly, one professional, and one with a very different format. Yeah. So if we go back to our presentation.
And as Charles mentioned, I know they are very long, so we will send you by email so you can use them. You just need to copy the text and change the information you want and copy them in ChatGPT, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, as I said, you can personalize the tone of a message. In that case, I've changed information on the role, the instruction. I've changed the example for to mimic a specific tone. Same thing with the format. You can change the role, instruction, example, and this wrap up the example part. But now, what are the benefits of ChatGPT? As I said in the last like 10 minutes, we've created 3 newsletters. What could take like hours to do normally if you write it yourself. So it's very time saving. As we saw, you can personalize it very much using your own example, all your data, all your information. It could be very creative. If you look at the example from the more funny example of the newsletter, I didn't ask him to talk about the barista and the maple syrup. He just created himself because it's from Canada, so I think it could be not that funny actually, but at least creative. The consistency could be great too, because if you have the same prompt and changing the context and the goal of the newsletter every week or every month, it could be very consistent, even though like your marketing person change. And finally, there's normally no mistake into the no grammatical error into the text, so that is usually pretty good at it.
So as Charles wrote, ChatGPT is a really powerful tool. I personally use it every day and call it my personal marketing assistant. But I think it's important to also know what are the limitations of the software. So the first one is the lack of contextual understanding. What I mean by that is the social context, such as emotion and the nuance of nonverbal communication or certain expressions. So, for example, in French, we can have the expression être dans la lune, but in English, there's not, like, it doesn't exist. It's going to be something else. So sometimes ChatGPT cannot understand like the specific expression for each region. It can also produce erroneous information. So sometimes ChatGPT generate results that are not entirely accurate or appropriate. The model is based on pattern it has learned from the data it has been trained on. So it may generate answers that are factually incorrect or contain false information. So I think it's always important to check the information that are provided, and if you can find sources that clarify that information. The ChatGPT also don't have no conscience or emotion. It's a software, it's normal, but sometimes the results can be rather dull or generic and lack the personal touch of a human, so more like a chatbot or robot. There's also limitation in less common language. So especially in those whose script is not Latin or whose grammatical is different from the English. So for example, the Russian, the alphabet is different, so it would be harder for ChatGPT. The other problem is the security and confidentiality. So when you register with ChatGPT, you're already giving all your personal information, and the history of content of your conversation also became personal information. The company state that under certain circumstances, it may provide your personal information to a third parties without prior notice, unless required by law. So in California, there's the Privacy Right Act that make that the government can take all the information if they want without any like they will take the information and that's it. You don't have a right in it. So maybe don't put personal information about your enterprise like number or profits or things like that in ChatGPT, because we never know, like it's not clear where the information is going. There's also intellectual property concerns. So it can have plagiarism of text because there's no sources. So you never know, like if ChatGPT take the answer from a website, but this particular website don't give the correct information, you won't be able to know. And finally, no, not finally, there's more. There's also difficulty generating structured long form content. So the free version of ChatGPT can respond to more than 4,000 keywords maximum. So you need to go to the paid version to have a longer content form. There's also it cannot provide real-time information. So for example, if you're asking for the US exchange rate, the free version is not connected to internet, so you won't have the correct answer. It will give you like the answer they have at the last update date they got in their database. And it can provide location-based information. So if you're asked to recommend an affordable restaurant in a particular city or in your area, ChatGPT won't be able to do it. So, but I have a question for you, Charles. Earlier you said that you can connect ChatGPT with flights. So I was wondering if there's a plugin that exists now that are connected to restaurant or with location. Do you know?
No, I'm not sure, but I think it's a great business idea if it's not already done. So
Yeah.
probably that maybe TripAdvisor. I'm not sure which tech, but I'm sure someone had the idea about it, and it might be in the plugins, or the other way it could be like into the app of the company that holds all the information about restaurant.
And I know that earlier I said the ChatGPT don't give the sources. It's true, but you can ask to give you source. But sometimes when I look, they don't exist or they are not available anymore. So it depends of what information you're asking. Sometimes it's gonna give you the right sources and you even have the website, but other time it's only gonna be the name of the person and you can find the information about that person. So that's it for the webinar of today. I don't know if some of you have questions. We have a little box, the chat one, where you can write and we can read them. I will let 1 or 2 minutes. Normally, I keep 15 to 20 minutes because the chat is exploding and everyone have a lot of questions. We never have the time to finish reading them. So Liliana said, thank you for very informative information. You mentioned privacy and security. Do you have any other concerns concerning cybersecurity? Well, for cybersecurity, I always encourage people to have their own account and don't share an account with other people. And it's also just $20 US per month for the paid version. If you don't want to, you can just get the free version, which is really nice also. And when I talk about privacy, it's because it's a US software. So the regulation and the law in the US are not as strong as the one in Canada. For example, in Canada, we have in Quebec, we have the law 25, which is a bit stronger, but for the rest of Canada, another law is coming, which is called PIPEDA. And this law regulate a lot more like all the information you put and you share. So ChatGPT, for example, wouldn't be able to have access to the information they put and share them with a third party. In Canada, you won't be able to do that. So yeah, that's what I'm saying about everything that is related to privacy. So we have another question. Great presentation. Merci from Karen. How long can the prompt be? 4,000 character or words? So
It could be longer depending on the version that you have. If you have the paid version right now, I think it's very long. It's up to like 1,000 words, something like that. So it's increasing at every version release. But even though for GPT 3.5, I think it's around 4,000 words.
Yeah, words, not character. There's a Stefan asking, what I see here is I will take some time to write 2-3 pages of instruction, then check everything with some potential legal issue. Does it really worth using it? Well, the example that I show earlier, the use cases I use day to day, they are really quick, and my sentence are already written in a Word document, for example. So I just copy them and change the word I need to. So those ones are really fast. For example, if you're someone that are writing a lot of email with other people, it can be really helpful. Or if you don't have an idea, for example, you want to know what contains a marketing plan. You can just ask ChatGPT and it will give you all the bullet points that the marketing plans need to contain. So personally, I think it's very useful. You just need to find the way that it will help you in the end, because that's the goal. I hope it's answer your question, Stefan. And the prompt that Charles showed, they are very structured and developed, but you can also copy them and just change the information and use them. It's more like for advanced people in ChatGPT, but you don't need to go further or as we use as much long prompt than that. So someone else asked, do you have any ideas, suggestion on how we can set some limitation and guideline as communications professional for rest of the organization to follow when they use EA tools like ChatGPT? So for that, for example, I can give, I'm right now at the University U Laval, and each classes, the teacher is gonna say if we have the right to use ChatGPT or not, for example, and if we can use ChatGPT, that we always need to write the source that we use ChatGPT for which section of our documents. And in other class, we can't, and we have to sign a paper that we understand we cannot use ChatGPT for this class. So that may be an idea for you that you can use in your company. I don't know, Charles, if you have something else to add on that.
Yes, I think it's important not to use like any proprietary information in the use case that we created today for newsletter. It's fairly simple because everything that you want to put in the newsletter will be public anyway. The other opportunity that you can have is to use the enterprise version of ChatGPT if that's possible, because you can have different a different contract with OpenAI regarding like the use of the information. Yeah.
All right. So Andrea asked a really good question. If you use the same prompt all the time, does it yield similar results?
Yes. So in ChatGPT, if you use the same prompt, you will have similar result. You will have but there's a bit of randomness into the model. Under the hood, when you use like the model directly, there is a parameter which is called a temperature that represent the level of randomness that you have. So if you set the temperature to 0, you will have exactly the same result for the same prompt. But if you put the temperature a bit higher, such as in the case of ChatGPT, you don't control it, but we know that the temperatures are higher than 0. The result will be a bit different every time you run the prompt, the same prompt, but the result will be similar.
That's really nice to know, because I didn't know that at all. So you just learned me something. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in my head, ChatGPT is learning on the way that I'm writing, and he is learning on the way you are writing. So I think I'm gonna get like a answer that is different than from Charles, because we don't, for example, use ChatGPT for the same things, or we don't have the same writing style. If am I
I
wrong, or
think
is there?
with the paid version, they save like your prompt, not just your prompt, but every discussion that you have with ChatGPT, and it will yield a bit like Google search. If we search for the same thing, we might not have the same result, but with like just by itself, the model doesn't learn as we talk with him, but they can like add the tone, as you said, the same way that I showed that you can show him example. It will take example of the discussion that you had and the way you like to be answered.
Thank you for that. And Victoria said, I missed the beginning of the webinar. Can I get a copy of the recording? What I saw was really interesting. So thank you, Victoria. Yes, I'm going to send you the recording of the webinar by email at the beginning of next week. I will also put the PDF presentation so you can have access to the prompt I use day to day. And I will also put the long version prompt that Charles showed you about the newsletter, so you can just use them, copy them, and that's it. So I don't know if we have any more questions. Thank you for being there. So we finished a bit earlier today, so you can go enjoy the sun. I don't know how is the temperature in the rest of Canada, but today in Quebec, we are lucky today because it's sunny, but it's cold. So
Yeah, very cold.
yeah, I can't wait for summer to come. So